The record of Jesus' answer to a Pharisee's question highlights Jesus' emphasis on moral perfection in our lives. Here's the account recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 34 through 40. But the Pharisees, when they heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, gathered themselves together. One of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him. "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. A second likewise is this: You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law and the prophets depend on these two commandments." Jesus is promoting in the first commandment total consecration to God, total love for God with all of our affection, all of our energy, and of our thought. There's absolutely no room, not even for a moment, for any kind of immorality, as we're totally consecrated to God. In other words, never turning from God. Yup, Jesus believes we can live a life of deeds, thoughts, and words that are all based on godly principles. The second command is all about leaving selfishness behind. That leaves out a bunch of sins. That's what loving others as yourself is all about. Jesus is telling us our interactions with others are to be flavored or intermixed with our love for God simultaneously, keeping this command connected with the first. So just like making decisions about ourselves need to be based on godly principles, the way we interact with others would also need to be based on godly principles. Moral integrity involves following godly principles regardless of what we might feel, doing right, not what feels right. If our relationships with others are based on a sentimental attachment, we may compromise our principles, compromise truth, and ultimately end up outside of that first command. Paul described it like this: love is patient and is kind. Love doesn't envy. Love doesn't brag, is not proud, doesn't behave itself inappropriately, doesn't seek its own way, is not provoked, takes no account of evil, doesn't rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with truth. And that's all from 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 6. Love is based on principles, God's principles. So to truly love God and to truly love our neighbor, we're constantly in harmony with God's law, God's principles. Interestingly, Jesus said God's whole law and the prophets' teachings all depend on these first two commands. We'll fail the rest of the law if we don't follow the first two commands. In other words, if we do follow the first two commands, we're by principle going to keep all the rest of the commands and all the teachings of the prophets and achieve moral perfection. Jesus would not have taught that we should keep the law, achieve moral perfection, if he didn't believe we could do it. Jesus taught we could achieve total consecration to God, unreserved and undeviating obedience to God. We can choose moral perfection and its practical application in our lives. If you would like to learn more about this topic, we recommend the article, What Jesus Taught About Doing Right and Wrong, linked in the description. Please join us as we will continue to offer new and interesting insights for your Sabbath School studies. And if you want to keep up with our new studies as they're published, we recommend subscribing. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on plenty of other podcast apps. Links for subscribing are in the description. God bless, and from Mary, many blessings.